Hey there, I'm an early childhood consultant and I'm here to share with you 8 tips for language modeling with toddlers. Now, keep in mind that toddlers have a wide range of language abilities. So within one group of children, there may be some children that are speaking in full sentences and other children that barely can say any words at all. And that's okay. These tips are designed to be used with all of those children, no matter their language abilities right now. So, tip number 1, repeat what children are saying back to them. When a child says something, go ahead and repeat what they said right after they say it. So if a child comes up to you and says, "I brought a car from home," go ahead and say back, "Oh, you brought a car from home." If a child comes up to you and says, "I want to go to the playground," you could say, "You want to go to the playground." You can also extend on their language attempts. So maybe a child's holding a toy elephant and they come up to you and they say, "Fent." You could say, "Yes, elephant, you're holding a gray elephant." You provided the full word elephant so that they knew what that word was, and you also extended it. You said that the elephant was gray and that they were holding it. Tip number 2, ask children questions that require more than one-word answers. And you should do this even with children that are not talking yet. These would be questions like, "What are you doing with that cup? Why do you think the tower keeps falling over? How do you think that toy got there? What do you think Clifford is going to do in the book next?" These are all open-ended questions. They require more than 1 or 2 words to answer them. All right, tip number 3. Have back and forth conversations with children. An example of this may be, "How are you feeling today?" The child may say, "Happy." Instead of just stopping there, continue the conversation. "Well, why are you feeling happy?" The child may answer, and then you could say, "Oh, I'm feeling happy too. I'm feeling happy because I had a muffin for breakfast, and I love muffins. What do you like to eat for breakfast?" See, the conversation kept going and went back and forth between the teacher and the child. Even if the children are not talking yet, they're nonverbal, go ahead and have those back and forth exchanges with them anyways. They may respond just by pointing or even just looking at things. Go ahead and make those attempts and still have back and forth. That's still modeling what it's like to have a conversation where one person says something and the other person replies. Even if they're not actually replying, still do that with those children. All right. Tip number 4, teach children what things in their environment are called. Car, bookshelf, chair, table, spoon, sink. These are all words that children are still learning. So you need to say them out loud. You could say something like, "Stella, you're holding a baby doll." And that's great because the child is still learning the word baby doll. But what would be even better would be saying something like, "Oh, Stella, you're holding a baby doll. Your baby doll has long, black, curly hair." And then you could even be pointing at the hair and pointing at the baby doll. So in that example, you use the word baby doll and you also use the word hair, so they're learning those words, but then you're also describing things. You're describing the hair as long and curly, and by pointing it to them, you're even helping to enforce what those words are even further. Tip number 5, don't be afraid to use big words with the children, and also don't be afraid to use complete sentences with the children. They may not know all of the words that you're using with them yet. However, the only way that they're going to learn those words is if they're used. You could try to replace single word phrases that you commonly use with the children with complete sentences. Maybe you say "come." Instead of saying "come," say "come here so that I can wipe your face off." Instead of saying "go," you could say, Oh, let's go outside now so we can go on the playground. Tip number 6. Help children to learn new words by relating them to other words that they may already know. An example of this would be, oh, these are gloves. They're kind of like socks, but they go on your hands. Another example may be, oh, that's clay. It's kind of like Play-Doh, but it's a little bit harder than Play-Doh. Another example may be, a veterinarian is like a doctor, but instead of helping people, they help dogs. Tip number 7. Describe things that you're doing as you're doing them. For example, oh, I'm going to get the lunch ready now. I'm taking the plates out. I'm putting the plates on the table. I'm scooping up the beans. I'm putting the beans on the plate. Another example could be, okay, I'm getting up now. I'm getting the dollhouse. I'm putting the dollhouse on the floor. Tip number 8, describe what the children are doing while they're doing it. An example of this would be, oh, Stella, you're holding a baby doll. Now you're rocking the baby doll. You just dropped the baby doll. And it's important with all of these tips to keep in mind your tone. Saying something in a calm tone is very different than saying something in a harsh tone. Just listen to this. What are you doing? Versus, what are you doing? The way that I said that sounded very different because of the tone that I used. But that's a whole nother video. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 8 tips that you can use to promote language with toddlers. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at rebecca@preschoolquality.com. Have fun promoting language.